Over the last couple of days, we've heard the Chicago Bulls be named as a potential destinations for both Anthony Davis and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and one thing was the same in both those rumors, is that the Bulls refuse to give up their young core. Are they building something real, or are they holding on to fool's gold? Plus, we're talking about Chicago Bulls finishing at the rim problems and Derek Lively rumors, because apparently he may be more available in the trade market than initially thought. We're going to talk about all that and more on today's Chicago Bulls Central. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So, we've had two separate reports over the last couple of days from two completely separate outlets that the Bulls refuse to give up their young core. This first off started in regards to the article from Jamal Collier in regards to Anthony Davis and saying that the Bulls did not want to give up any of their young core pieces in a trade for Anthony Davis, which at that point in time with Anthony Davis, his injury history, the size of the contract, the fact that you'd be adding him to what you basically already have with just giving up your expiring contracts, it kind of made some sense there, right? Like, Anthony Davis is a star, make no mistake about it, and when he's on the court, he's one of the best players in the NBA. The problem with Anthony Davis always is just how much is he going to actually be on the court, right? They call him day-to-day Davis in street clothes for a reason. But then yesterday, we heard from Luke Canellis of Fox Sports that the reps from Giannis Antetokounmpo reached out to the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls actually aren't interested in Giannis due to their young core, saying this: I can tell you that Giannis and his representatives reached out to the Bulls about a potential deal, and the Bulls said they weren't interested. The Bulls are not willing to come off its core pieces for Giannis or Anthony Davis. Like, so is that the right move, right? What are the Bulls holding on here to this young core? Now, I know my Bulls fans, and I know the people that watch this show, and there are already people that are typing on the YouTube side of things. They're like, oh my God, we don't even have a young core. They've lost 5 games in a row. We don't have a core. And I get that. I get that mindset. Here's what I'll say in my response to that. Again, this is just a counter. I'm not saying anybody's wrong for how they feel, right? At this point, we'll talk about that as we get into it. But the Detroit Pistons were a team that won, what was it, 22 games, something like that a couple of years back. And most of their young core pieces actually stayed the same, but they added some key veterans to help, improve that team from where it was before. The 14 games is what the Detroit Pistons won in the 2023-24 season, right? Now, it's a lot different when you have a player like Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren, right? But I think people got to remember the Detroit Pistons fans were really down on Jalen Duren almost up until this year where he's hit his leap, right? So I understand the Bulls wanting to hold on to some core pieces. Like, for example, Josh Giddey, Modest Buzelis, I can understand that. I know that Modest hasn't hit that leap that people hope to see in the second year, but the last thing you want to do is trade Modest Buzelis, and then he ends up becoming another team Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or something. I don't mean to the level of that play, but I mean he ends up being a franchise-level player, right? He has a lot that he needs to work on, though. So, this is going to be met between the Bulls fans to look at and say, I understand you wanting to keep your young core and not mortgage things, and or that, I understand the people as well as like, hey, if you got a chance to get a star and they're calling about coming to your team, why not take that, right? Now, I want to say this, right? The Bulls clearly believe that they have something special with their young core. And I know we've lost 5 straight games. We're 9-12 on the season. I understand everything that everybody's going to say with that. But just they're young, meaning that they still have developing left to do. And so I understand that they feel like as things grow, something special could happen from it, right? Now, we don't know what their ceiling's going to be yet. And right now, there's enough reason for Bulls fans to believe that ceiling may not be too high. But keep in mind, like I said, Modest was never going to hit a superstar leap in the second year. I can tell you that right now. That was never going to happen. I tried to temper those expectations from some people, but it is what it is. But it's still, when you're looking at that, right now it's hard for any fan mostly to believe in this young core is going to be something special when we're seeing the results that we're seeing on the basketball court, right? Now, the second reason why they may not have any interest in especially giving up their young core to acquire these level of players. You look at Giannis, for example. $175 million over the next 3 years, right? He's owed $54 million this season, $58 million next season, and $62 million the year after that. Anthony Davis' contract structure isn't that far off from that, right? And while Giannis is a star, make no mistake about it, one of the best players in the NBA, like I said and pointed out, you still need structure around Giannis Antetokounmpo, or you're going to find yourself in the exact same situation where the Milwaukee Bucks are, where if you, especially now Giannis is older, right? And if you have, like, let's say you do give up Coby, Io, Noah, and then you're left with modest Giannis and Josh Giddey as your core, right? And it'll be more than that. Like, how far does that really, like, Giannis is a star, make no mistake about it, but he still needs structure. And you still need a rim protector. You still don't have that. Outside of the rim protector, you still need three-point shooting. That's been the key to Giannis when he's been good, is three-point shooting and rim protection. You don't have either one of those things. How does that hurt your team, right? So you do have to keep in mind what you will have left after making a trade for a star like Giannis, and is that enough to really still be competitive at the level that you need to do so? And I'll say this, for AK and Eversley, them acquiring something specific is something that I don't have a lot of faith in, right? I don't have faith in them. I mean, look at it. How long have we needed rim protection and additional bigs on this roster? Have we had them yet, right? Like, that's the thing. So I can kind of understand it, but at the same time, for a franchise or for a front office that has been telling their fan base, stay patient, we're doing things, and then to hear that a star wanted to come to your team, and that's if you believe the reporting or not, it leaves some questions on, like, okay, what are y'all doing here? What do you see that we don't see? Now, we don't know when this reach out happened. This could have happened in the offseason where the Bulls were feeling really confident coming into the season, and at that point in time, they didn't feel like making that move without seeing their depth. It could have come recently where, they still haven't felt confident because they haven't seen their team fully healthy together. There's a number of things that can go into this, right? And the reason why I say if the reporting is true, I would say that a player like Giannis having some interest in the Chicago Bulls does state something about where this team could be viewed at. Because I know Bulls fans don't view this team very highly. A segment of them don't. The national media doesn't view this team very highly. But maybe there is some interest around players in the NBA that they look at this and say, hey, this Bulls team could be on to something here, and maybe this is a franchise that I could win with. And maybe it's Josh Giddey. Maybe it is the young up-and-coming and modest Buzelis, which they look at it and view it that way. But so I'll take that part of it as positive, but it does raise some serious questions now that we've heard two star-level players. Now, Anthony Davis isn't as healthy as Giannis has been, but still two star-level players having interest in coming to the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls being the one to look at that and say, hey, no, I'm actually good. That's a question that raises tons and tons and tons of questions. And so we'll see, right? Like, you can very much so, and we've seen AK kind of do this before, right? Fall in love with the core of players, and then it ends up not really working out. But if you're going to be in love with your core players, that's fine. You just got to make sure that it actually works out. It better fucking work. Like, that's the thing that this all comes back to. It just better work. And if it works, great. Like, if this ends up working out and Modest Buzelis ascends to a near star level, Josh Giddey and Coby White are a backcourt that can win you a bunch of games, like, people are going to look back on it and say, hey, aren't you glad we didn't trade for Giannis? But if this does not work out, right, and we're talking about 2-3 years down the road, and you could have been on year 2 or 3 of having at least Giannis Antetokounmpo on your team, people are going to look back on it and continue doubting, and rightfully so, what this front office is. And so that's what the risk that you run in here, right? Now, I will have said this, and I said this on yesterday's episode. Giannis has never been a free agent draw despite how great of a player he is. The Bulls have never been a free agent draw despite the history of this franchise. So because of that, I don't think that Giannis and the Bulls joining forces together all of a sudden becomes some major free agent destination where players are chomping at the bit to come into Chicago, but it's still, you need stars to win a title. Right now, I do say this, you can go far with a well-constructed and well-built team, but you need stars at least a star if you really want to win a title. And, the Bulls better hope that they keep having players that ascend. Now, Josh Giddey's looking like he's on an all-star path. Make no mistake about that. But, it raises questions, especially for the place that this franchise is in right now, to continue hearing these things. But I guess we'll see how it's all going to work out for this team, and hopefully that they've made the right decision. Now they're going to have to show it. Now, once again, the Bulls passed on the deal. This reminds me of the Zach LaVine deal. We never got a deal, an offer that good as what the New York Knicks offered us 2 or 3 years before we eventually traded him. Now, Are the Bulls passing up on another situation like that? Maybe, and I guess we shall see. But I tell you what, if Modest ends up just being a regular ass NBA player, people are going to definitely look back on it and say, now, I'm not knocking Modest. I think the world still of Modest. I know, the more knee-jerky Bulls fans, because Modest isn't averaging 18 points per game or all of a sudden down him. People have even called him a bust. He's not. But we'll see how things shake out for this team. With that said, though, let's get back to the basketball side of it. Before we get on that, I want to hear from you guys down below. How do you feel about hearing that the Bulls are so in love with their core that they don't want to part with any members of that core to get Anthony Davis or Giannis Antetokounmpo? And Jamal Collier, for what it's worth, wrote that they see Giddey, Coby White, Buzelis as its future core, along with Noa Essengue. So that's right now the players of the Bulls view as their young core, and those are the players that they're unwilling to move, even if it is for a star. Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, I want to talk about the Bulls' biggest problem. And this is a problem that we've talked about, right? Adam Amin shared on the last game, he said this: the Bulls finished in the restricted area at the second worst rate in the NBA, despite having the most field goal attempts in the restricted area. Now, I've been saying for a while the Bulls don't finish in the paint or attack the paint nearly enough, right? And Adam Amin said this after Patrick Williams missed a layup, which shouldn't surprise anybody, right? But the Bulls' rim finishing is rock bottom when you look at it. The Bulls are right along with the Pelicans, which are 3-19 as far as finishers, right? When you look at it, the top five in the restricted area are combined for 59-47, right? And so when you look at this, the Chicago Bulls have converted the attempts with league average efficiency. So right now we're shooting about 67% at the rim, which isn't terrible, but it's not really good either, considering how much we get to there. If you would add at least 4 points per game, that would flip them from a negative point differential to a positive one. So we are just so off on being a positive team at attacking the rim, right? The Bulls are hitting their three-pointers right now at an above-average rate. We're eighth in the NBA at 37% as far as three-point intent. When you look at finishing at the rim, right, it's not great. Right now, the Bulls if you look at 67% being the benchmark for it, as far as efficient rim finishing, only Kevin Huerter, Julian Phillips, and Jalen Smith are above that average mark as far as rim efficiency in the NBA. That's it, right? But they account for only 6.8 field goal attempts in the restricted area per game. So again, the Bulls are getting efficient shooting from there from players that don't really get there a lot. When you look at the primary rim finishers for this Bulls team, Josh Giddey, Coby White, Ayo Buzelis. Those are the four best players as far as finishing at the rim, most attempts at the rim. And they're shooting anywhere from 56% to 61% in the restricted area. Again, when we're looking at the league average, it's 67% league average. This is being averaged in the restricted area, right? Those four players account for 20.8 of the Chicago Bulls restricted area field goal attempts per game. So most of our field goal attempts are coming from just those players. That's it, right? So that's 2/3 of our rim shots are coming from four players. Now, I don't think that's really too far off when you're looking at a team and how the hierarchy goes. Usually, of course, your top 4 or 5 players lead you in a lot of categories, right? But so it's not about these players finishing less. It's just about getting it more efficient at the rim. And how do they get there? I can tell you from looking at this, and this isn't a stat, a lot of times, like even with Modest, he attacks the rim late in the shot clock and takes sometimes a bad shot, right? Ayo's better at that because he attacks from full court pressure. Kobe's kind of the same way. When Kobe's healthy, he's doing that. And Josh Giddey, he's finishing at the rim well enough, right? The thing becomes about how do you get better opportunities? And when you look at the Chicago Bulls and how they shoot the three ball, which, in the half court is really good, but the number of transition threes that they take needs to take a step back. You can get those extra 4 buckets that we talked about at the restricted area just by actually attacking the rim in transition, which is when you're supposed to be attacking the rim any goddamn way, right? So that's what it comes down to with these teams, right? You're not looking at Giddey and Kobe, Ayo, and Modest to cut back on their attempts at the rim. If anything, you may want them to take more attempts at the rim. But my question also comes down to, why isn't Nikola Vucevic towards the height of that? He's the center. You're not taking shots in the restricted area. That's one area that I do think Zach Collins is going to help at. Zach Collins is going to live in that restricted area offensively. He's going to let his guards create for him, right? So the Bulls, and we're talking about the offense, which the offense isn't the biggest problem. The Bulls are scoring at a really good rate. Now, you can refine it and make it easier for you, but it goes back to defense for me, right? Like, you can finish at the rim better in transition if you're getting more stops. If you're rebounding the ball better defensively, you stop giving up all these second chance points to these other teams, right? So those are something that you have to look at. Again, the offense and defense and the synergy between the two is as important for this Bulls team as it is any other team, probably more important so because of how the Bulls like to play and the pace that they like to play with. So those are things that you have to look at. And it still goes back a lot to the same problem that we've been talking about a lot with this Bulls team as well. It still goes back to rebounding with this team. If you rebound better on either side of the ball, even on offensively, get some easy putback opportunities for you. Defensively, you get out in transition, which you then can attack the rim a little bit better on. These are the things that the Bulls really need to pride themselves on as you make that, as you are trying to dig yourself out of this 5-game losing streak hole that you're in right now. This is where you need to try to get those things and turn those things around. Can they? I mean, I think they have the ability to. When you look at how we finished last season, we were one of the best teams at attacking the rim, and that was partially because of Coby White and Josh Giddey creating off drives. Now, this season, we're still getting some decent enough opportunities there, but we're not finishing with the percentage that we need to finish with. And some of that goes to taking it up strong. This Bulls team also plays too soft in the paint, where they're looking for foul calls. And the thing that I've always said in the NBA, you will get foul calls if the refs see that you're trying to play to finish, not if you're like, oh, let me throw this up here. Ref, where's my call? And that's what the Bulls do too much. We get called on fouls, and it's like we try to prove a point by getting fouls on the other side rather than just playing tough. The thing that a lot of you guys continue to point out continues to hold true. You got to play with fucking toughness. And this team right now plays soft in the middle, like the Pillsbury Doughboy. So until this team starts getting tougher and finishing tougher and trying to actually force the issue at the rim, this is where we're going to continue to be at. This is where we're going to continue to stand at. It's not going to change if you're not doing those things. That is where this team needs to improve at, and we'll see if they can get that done. But that's just something to really look at with this team, is that if we start finishing better, and that could happen with Coby coming back. Hopefully Josh Giddey continues attacking. He's like the one player that you see consistently doing that. Trey Jones is a really good attacker at the rim. He's better when he's trying to finish at the rim too. He either draws fouls or whatever there. That is where this team needs to live at. That is where this team needs to really pride themselves on getting to if they want to get back into the win column sooner rather than later. And, me, like other people, I'm kind of start doubting what the resolve is to get that done. But I guess we shall see. But let me know what you guys think on that down below in the regards to the Bulls and finishing around the rim. Do you think they can become a better rim finishing team? And like me, do you look at it and say, hey, why isn't our center? And that's one thing that I will tell you this. For the Bulls fans to say, well, we can't give up Nikola Vucevic for a more defensive-minded center. Not only a more defensive-minded center will get us more offensive looks and it gets us, stop giving up so many second-chance points to teams, but because you could have somebody that then could live in the restricted area and then have to live off lobs and things like that, it actually puts more pressure on the defense and probably makes their three-point shots a little bit higher quality as well. That's just my thinking, right? Which leads us to our last topic. Per Dave Favale of Bleacher Report, Derek Lively is more available than people realize. Now, Dave Favale had an article in which he listed trade targets for each and every team. And on that list for the Chicago Bulls was Peyton Watson, Jalen Wells, which are both more wing players, and then Derek Lively. And I think Derek Lively is maybe the most realistic chance there. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to hear Derek Lively's name and say, oh my God, that's the center that we need. You look at Derek Lively, 7'1", 231 pounds, and there's a lot of positives to look at him. He only averages 22 minutes played per game, but he averages over a block and a half per game. This is a guy who this season is only playing 16 minutes and is still averaging over a block and a half per game. So rim protection that Derek Lively provides is legitimate. And he typically does it without fouling a whole lot. He is averaging 3 fouls per game this year, but that's the highest of his NBA career. But this is a guy that really does protect the rim. The problem then becomes about he doesn't do very much at all, right, offensively. Now, let's focus on the pros. Yes, he's a legit rim protector. At 21 years old, he more so fits the Bulls' timeline. And one of the reasons the Mavericks could be looking to give him up is the fact that he is extension eligible sooner rather than later, and they may not just have seen enough from him to feel comfortable giving him that extension. This also is a player that fits the type of players that AK likes to acquire, right? Young players that have had a few years in the league and are still very young, 21 years old. It fits kind of what AK's talked about with young players with experience. But like I said, the cons. Health is a big one. This guy has not, despite only being 21 years old and only in his third year in the league, he has not played more than 55 games at all any 3 of these years. He's only played 7 games for the Dallas Mavericks so far on this year, which, they've played over 20 games. So they played 23 games. So only 7 games played out of 23. Last year, he only played 36 games. The injury history is hugely there. Now, the one benefit is that he is younger, and you do expect those players to kind of find it. He doesn't have nearly the size of a contract like Anthony Davis. So even if you are acquiring him, you're not acquiring him for the amount of money that you would need. You're probably getting him maybe for the Portland pick and maybe matching salary. If the Mavs truly are looking to blow that up, we'll see. Daniel Gafford still is the one that's more widely reported as being available by the Dallas Mavericks. And again, I wouldn't mind him either on this team. But so that's what you run into with Derek Lively. The negatives there are concerning. Now, much like I said with Mark Williams, if the Bulls look at this and say, hey, we're going to acquire Derek Lively to get some rim protection in here. He's already shown he can play in double big lineups, and we're going to keep Vooch here for now. I'm not mad if acquiring Derek Lively, but you still need to find your center of the future, in my opinion, because I don't know if you want to bet on Derek Lively to be that quite yet. Maybe he ends up being that, but I don't know if you just want to bet on him being that where things stand. But he's only on a $5.2 million contract this year, $7.2 million next year, and that's the last year before he hits restricted free agency. So you get to see a year and a half of him potentially before you'd have to make any type of long-term commitment there. But Derek Lively it's so many of the pros that we need, but those cons. He's not an offensive threat at all. So everything would have to be created for him. Now, luckily, we have some really good passers on the team. Of course, Josh Giddey, great passer, great creator. Trey Jones, really good one. Coby White creates off drives, which could lead to lobs for Derek Lively as Coby White tries to drive to the lane. So those are things that work out. Like, he fits as far as stylistically. The question is are you willing to risk even the Portland pick if it came down to getting a player like Derek Lively here? And I guess we got to see what happens with that one. But let me know what you guys think on that. Hearing from Bleacher Report that Derek Lively may be more available than people realize, and the Bulls are listed as one of those teams that could be coming knocking to try to get him. What do you guys think about that? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Make sure you guys are following us. Sorry. Let's not close the show yet, but let me know what you guys think on that down below, right? But with that said, if you guys enjoy the content today, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Drop a comment with your thoughts on everything. The Bulls rejecting the Giannis and AD talks. Are we protecting the future? Or are we potentially missing out on a generational chance to improve this team? Let me know what you guys think on all that down below, as well as the Derek Lively trade rumors. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.